what can I use in your website to say to my friends and contacts, look at this. Is your website, do you have a website?
Yes, it's Grayson2014.com, which was the campaign website. So people want to know about where I stand, policies, et cetera, et cetera. But the greatest tool that you can use is to, and Hank, we probably need to grab all of those debate videos. Every debate that was done, I've got it online, where you can hear what they said, and you can hear what I said, and you can judge the responses for yourself.
Yes, you too.
And if you understand the Constitution, everybody in this room will walk away saying, I should have voted for that man. If you understand the Constitution. Because I'm the only one that's about getting back to the Constitution, because I know it is the violation of the Constitution that has put us where we are. Getting back again to Hank and what he was talking about. Everything that they're doing in there is a violation of the Constitution. And if we can't grab that, I will be, you may as well count me as your enemy. If you support somebody who does not support 100% of the Constitution, count me as your enemy. Why? Because I will be fighting tooth and nail against those who do not support 100% of the Constitution 100% of the time. I'm telling you now, I am their enemy. I want a constitutionalist. Now, you ain't got to like me. That's great. You ain't got to like me. But send somebody like me that will support 100% of the Constitution 100% of the time. Because you know what? If you do that, you'll be doing me a favor. Because I will benefit. You can be a racist. That's cool. You like to feed your family just like I like to feed mine. Because see, I don't know of any racists down there in my neighborhood trying to keep me from going to work, breaking in my house, so I'm good with that. I let people do you. But we need constitutionalists running this country in order to preserve it and restore it. Because those folks up there in D.C., they're going to destroy it. And something about those folks that you think are working for you, if they aren't naming names, they're not working for you. Because they aren't willing to lay it on the line to expose the corruption. And that is the key point that we keep missing about the folk that we keep re-electing thinking that they're working for us.
Repeat that website.
Grayson2014.com. Yes, sir.
Are you running for Senate?
I am going to run again. So I get started now. Got Neil White back there, my senior advisor.
I don't win.
Ted Metz.
Where are you?
Bruno Rivera over here. So we met a lot of good people during the last campaign, folk that supported, and everybody on our campaign was a volunteer.
They were.
Who loved the Constitution.
They were.
Not a single paid individual. That is how much those individuals wanted to see change in this country. But sometimes you got to take that first round to learn what it is that you're up against. And see, I know what I'm up against. Now, I know what you're up against. And what all of us are up against is overcoming the machine, the media. Because the media will not put this out. Because they don't want people to wake up. They count on their ignorance. They count on their support based on not knowing. They count on division. Remember, I told you the three tools in their tool chest. Racism, entitlement, and division. That's how they win every time. Yes, sir.
Derek, one thing you've got to do in this group is to hold the media accountable. That means calling radio stations, like I did Channel 5, let them know that we're tired of first. We're tired of hearing about Missouri and not commenting about the looting, breaking of the law. We're just concentrating on one thing. They're keeping this stirred up. They have an agenda. We haven't talked about a general that was murdered. We haven't talked about a man that's over in Mexican prison that nobody cares about. There's so many things this news media has their agenda, and each person here, me included, are responsible to call these stations and tell them we're talking about.
We have a better idea. We already know who owns them. I'll give you the perfect example. I'm going to tell you why we have a better idea. Not that yours is not a good one, but we tried all of that. Somebody whom everybody loves.
Bruno.
He was the 999 man.
Herman Cain.
Herman Cain saw me at the 4th debate. He was there. The following week on his radio station, somebody called in and asked him, well, who's running for Senate in Georgia? He said, well, we've got 5 candidates running. And he named Karen Handel, Jack Kingston, David Perdue, Phil Gingrey, and
Paul Brown.
That's all that's running. Yep, that's what we got. Bald-faced lie. But he has his marching orders because that's who he works. Who did I say owns the media outlets now? They follow what they tell them to do. So I made the phone call. People posted on their Facebook wall, comments got removed. That won't work. That's not going to change. We have to change the narrative. We have to, I just told you. What did Martin Luther King do down there with the garbage men? He told them to stop picking up the trash. What did he do for the bus riders? He told them to stop riding the bus. You make them irrelevant. We have to teach people to find other news sources. You won't get what Hank just gave you. I don't care who you call or who you tell. We have to set this up. And that is what Operation Educate will be about. We will find independent journalists. We will find people dedicated to the truth. But we have to be responsible for telling our neighbor and our friend what it is that they must do in order to make this happen. And when you do that, the position that you will put those that have been counting on you to drink their Kool-Aid will be just like when Jesus was talking to the Pharisees. He said, wait a minute, hold up. We paid the tithes. We observed the Sabbath. We did all those things. And Jesus said, yeah, you did. But you ignored the weightier things. Well, what do you mean, Jesus? Whatever happened to love, mercy, and forgiveness? All of those things that you do from the heart. The press used to want you to know the truth because they knew it was the righteous thing to do, which is what the First Amendment was all about. Free speech, the ability to tell the truth without persecution. And now they deliberately tell you a lie to keep you voting for the knuckleheads that we keep sending back and forth to D.C. So what do we have to do? We got to make the press irrelevant. We don't want to go to them. We want to make them irrelevant. We got to be our own media. That's our plan, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Have you taken this message to the Republican Party, like the local?
Oh, God.
Really?
They slammed the door.
The
What is
establishment,
this?
I'll put it this way, John
Extra
Patrick
paper for anyone who
was always
wants more
nice to
information.
me. Every
about
time I saw him and we entered the debate, he would tell me, Derek, you're saying some of the same things I say. Okay, right on, John.
Are you sure you're talking to the John Patrick that I know?
I'm pretty sure I am.
I don't think I heard the same thing from him.
Well, according to John Paget, and I name names, he told me that he said the same things that I say. So if you've been in a meeting with John Paget, you had to have heard him say some of the same things that I've been talking about. So the Republican Party establishment, ma'am, is not our friend. They are our master. They would be our master. They want us to support who they want us to support. On the local level.
I heard them in a training session 2 years ago in LJ. I heard the Republican Party say to a group of us that they do not want Republicans running against incumbents. Why would we waste our money instead of running against Democrats. They want who they want in, and they say that they are not, they are impartial for primaries, but they are not.
I know, but the battleground needs to be fought in the local Republican Party. You need to take this message to them so we can change the party.
Ma'am, I will go and speak anywhere somebody invites me. But the true battleground is with the individual.
Well, you're right.
The
But
true battleground is with the
Can
individual.
I add something to this part of the discussion?
Sure.
Y'all help me out now. Back in Athens, we needed about 400 people to have voted, and Paget would not have been head of the Georgia Republican Party.
That's right.
yeah,
So I don't know how many people in here are in the Republican Party and go to mass meetings when they hold them and take a seat from your district so that when the voting comes, you can move up the line to when you get to Athens, you can unseat people like John Paget. If you're not doing that, you are part of the problem.
And there were people who ran who were not establishment candidates in Athens, and they lost because they did not have the support that they needed. There were people who were trying to change the party, and there were some very, very valid candidates who ran.
Catherine Bernard, Alex Johnson.
Back in May 2012, I was one of the few delegates at a time that Matt Brewster, the chairman, they're thinking that, Bruno seems like a nice guy, he's brand new, and maybe we could put him for the state convention. And so I was selected, my mom was selected, even though they thought that she's my wife. And she never attended a GOP meeting in her life. So they were doing the delegate slate like husband and wives format. They weren't adding people like Lori Bone, Mark Bone, or the other guys that they wanted to get involved in the Republican Party in the long term, but they were rejected. So it was it was a very embarrassing moment for the GOP.
We have to go around the system in order to beat the system. Why do you think we have a Tea Party? Because the Republican Party as a whole has lost its way.
Amen.
That's why the Tea Party was
It
formed
has
in the
lost
first
its
place.
That'll be the
They're
first.
part of the Republican Party, but the Republican Party they lost those ideals. And I'm going to say something that might make some people mad. When the Tea Party formed, I was both feet in. And they promised that they would not compromise. That batch that got elected first time around. And they got right up there and they compromised. And they approved that continuing resolution, increasing that debt ceiling. And I was sorely disappointed. Sorely disappointed. Because people will make you a promise now. I know Hank, earnestly. And you see, the difference between Hank and I, Hank is more optimistic than I am.
You know,
They might not have gotten that earlier.
we're gonna be back.
He's more optimistic. I saw him talk with each and every candidate to try and educate them on the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
David Perdue told him if he won a primary, he would come and meet with them. But he canceled. Now, did he give you an alternative date? Did he offer a new date?
No.
He doesn't care about the Federal Reserve. If they cared about the Federal Reserve, they've been doing something about the Federal Reserve already.
Yeah, it won't.
They don't care about any of that stuff. None of the people that we have been voting for, and I'm guilty because I was part of the problem as well.
I'm gonna kill you.
Until I got involved in
now?
the process and got to see for myself. And when I found Ron Paul, I was about ready to quit politics. And a friend of mine told me about
What are
Ron
you
Paul.
doing?
And all that I had learned in school, I was fortunate enough where they actually taught me about the Constitution. All of those things came back to me. And I was able to overlay policy and see how it didn't match what the Constitution was all about. But overall, I'm going to tell you, this is some folk that are Ron Paul supporters might get upset with me. But Ron Paul wasn't prepared to go all in. Now, he did a great thing by getting me mobilized and into it. He did a great thing by reminding me that when you move away from the Constitution, and maybe that's all Ron Paul was supposed to do. All I know is right now it's up to us to make a difference. Because the establishment, that two-party system, is not going to change on its own. 3 people I'm going to quote in the middle. George Washington, his warning. Beware of the party system. That was our first president. Our first president. Ronald Reagan. I'm going to give you Eisenhower. Eisenhower. Beware of the military-industrial complex. What did Hank just tell you? They use the military to enforce their agendas. Eisenhower warned us. And Ronald Reagan. D.C. will not fix itself. These are 3 presidents. But for the most part, did a great job as president. They really had a heart after the people in the Constitution. And there are some others. But there are other presidents that have just not cared about the Constitution. And the last 2 presidents, and I know some of you love George Bush. I was at my district at a meeting, and a guy named Mike, I think he was like the master at arms. I made the statement, George Bush gave us TARP. This guy came, you know, I just really felt bad for you because George Bush did not give us TARP. And I'm sitting here incredulous. What? That was Obama. What? But this guy's master at arms. And was upset because I brought that up, because I said something about George Bush. But these 2 presidents, Bush and Obama, have done something that none of the other presidents have done. Now I'm going to say with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, because he suspended habeas corpus. He did some things that were against the Constitution. Okay? And so I'm not even going to get into debating, you know, ends justify the means, because at this point that's irrelevant. That's antiquity. That was, you know, a different time. But these 2 presidents are the only 2 that have, under the guise of security, secretly violated your constitutional protections.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes, Patriot Act.
Yes, Patriot Act,
Yep.
warrantless wiretapping,
Yep.
NDAA, indefinite detention. I could go on and on and on.
Iraq, Afghanistan.
There you go. Yeah, Neil.
Remind them that how you're going to be using to get to everybody, and they can pick up on that by using YouTube.
Why don't you tell me?
Well, you could go to YouTube and survey his name, and you'll get 1,400 videos he's already made, but you'll be concentrating now on the new message, which is what you just heard tonight.
And the website, the centralized website, is going to be Wake Up America.
I also have some like wrote down.
Wake Up Georgia. I'm sorry. Wake Up Georgia. WakeUpGeorgia.info.
I also got these stickers where I put down his YouTube page and his Grayson2014.com for more information and stuff. But the YouTube is where all his videos is at.
If anybody's got any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as long as you want to ask them. But I don't want to keep people if you're ready to go. So, are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just wake up, Georgia spelled out.
Is it GA or Georgia spelled out?
It's Wake Up Georgia spelled out .info.
WakeUpGeorgia.info.
Anybody else?
Next will be Wake Up America.
Amen. Any other questions for Derek? Let's give him a big hand.